Hello, I'm your host Kaylee, and I would like to welcome Corndiff to the Murder Game. The Murder Game is a hypothetical thought exercise where Corndiff's goal is going to be to off as many people as possible using unlimited resources. But he's not allowed to use bombs or poison, so he's going to have to get creative to outsmart his targets. My task is to challenge him every step of the way. In the Murder Game, you don't care about getting caught, but if you do, the game ends. Now let's get into the fake crime and find out Corndiff's solution to the Murder Game. Welcome to the most twisted game of all, the Murder Game. This hypothetical thought exercise has one goal: eliminate as many people as you possibly can. It's all about numbers, no moral compass, just a thirst for chaos. Just 3 simple rules. Rule 1, unlimited resources. Money, technology, influence. You have everything at your fingertips. Rule 2, poison, bombs, off the table. Don't rely on usual methods. This game is for the creative, the cunning, the brilliant. It's your mind against the masses. Rule 3, you don't care about getting caught or eliminated, but once you are, the game ends. Count the bodies, the highest number wins. Are you ruthless enough to play the Murder Game?
Hi, Kaylee. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. I never thought that I would be hearing a Corn's solution to murder.
You'd be surprised, but we think about it a lot.
If it involves popcorn kernels getting caught in people's throats, I am going to be very impressed.
Damn it. No, I'm kicking myself now.
All right, well, tell me your solution to the Murder Game. I would love to hear it.
I am the owner of a privately operated landfill in a small U.S. border town.
I'm intrigued.
Near a train yard. So many transients. Lots of people to not be missed.
How many people do you think are transients in this town?
Oh my God. I haven't even run the numbers. I don't know that the calculators get that high. It's
okay.
It's a lot. It's going to be a lot.
All right.
So there's the landfill. I own it. I run it. Small town. Cops are in my pocket. Not in a sense of they know what's going on, obviously. It's just they don't ask questions. Small town. Yep. I'm going to post handwritten job offers. Gas stations, bars, shelters, cash work, that sort of thing. I don't like paper trails. I plan on getting day laborers, transients, ex-cons, border crossers. It's the sky's the limit with this landfill, I feel like.
I like where this is going so far. I always enjoy when somebody starts out a murder game with luring people to them. So you offering people jobs, that's a nice little lure. Get over to my murder game.
I mean, a part of it is, keep people from asking questions, you got to be the Gus Fring of the world. You have to give back to the community and come off as just a nice corn. But when people start disappearing, in the unlikely event that someone actually asks about one of them, I don't know, they got their money and jumped a train. Heard them talking about heading south. Border Patrol probably got, there's endless reasons. Like, this isn't an area where people come to stay long. It's typically just for people passing through. Now, when it comes to how I would dispatch these people, oh my God, it's a landfill. So much machinery, loud noises. I run a tight crew. It's a small crew, by the way. It is a small to medium-sized landfill, but size appropriate for the town. But I don't need a lot of people, and that's good, because people come with eyes, and you don't want a lot of eyes on you. The noise, not so worried about. It's typically noisy. I don't have to worry about people really just creeping up on me and hearing something they shouldn't. But, I mean, there's trash compactors. You could get run over by a bulldozer. You could get trapped in a trench, carbon monoxide. I could keep going, but we'd be here all day. Any thoughts on any of this so far?
I love this so far. I am very excited to. I feel like I'm on the hook, and I can't wait to hear the next thing.
So, trash decomposes at different rates, and that's really going to make identification tricky.
So, for example, the cardboard decomposes faster than aluminum.
Yeah, or high methane levels in certain areas. They'll have speed up decay. I'm saying you're not going to, even if they found something, they're going to have a hard time pinning when it happened or what even happened. But let's face it, they're not going to find something. I'm digging down to the bottom of this trash pile, and then you get down to the soil where there's a sludge. You're getting into chemicals at that point. If you dig down into that, yeah, I mean, if they excavate my landfill, how far are they going to go? I don't think they'll find anything. There's always, show me a landfill that doesn't have a fire going randomly. There's burning of the remains.
And again, you don't have to worry about smells. I like that you don't have to worry about getting caught. So this puts you in a very interesting position because now you have lured people to your trap.
Just trying to help them out with jobs, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you're the great guy in town. Everybody loves you. And in addition to that, once you start off in people, one, nobody's coming looking for them. And two, you have the perfect disposal method for them.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking this up now because I got curious. So I was curious if there are any statistics on how many people are currently buried in landfills. Obviously, your plot is to lure people in there, but there are some pretty high estimates that, let's see here, in 2020, about 500,000 people went missing in the U.S., and about 0.01% or 50 people would end up in a landfill. Now, that's obviously a lot of conjecture.
Yeah.
But I think that there is probably a high likelihood that there are random bodies in any given landfill.
Oh, there's got to be. I mean, I know people, I've heard of people dumping them just in their regular trash, and then they get found that way. What about the ones that don't get found? I mean, they're dump trucks run by. It's all automated nowadays. They pick it up, they dump it in. Unless they look at the data sheets where it showed, hey, it looks like that trash can was about 120 pounds heavier than normal today. What's going on there? They're not going to notice that shit.
And they don't care.
No, they don't care. They just want to move on to the next one so they can get to the end of the shift. It's really going to come down to, I think, just the sheer amount of trash that can cover up the bodies and the evidence from dispatching them. I think that's what's going to be key.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to catch you. I think that what you have done is you have crafted the perfect plan of not getting caught for a really long time, which means that you get huge numbers. So I am curious about how you're actually getting the body count here.
So you move in landfills, you shuffle trash around a lot. You got to keep it moving, stir it up. You got an area cleared out. Hey, Carl, could you go ahead and hop down in there? I need you to take a look at, I don't know, make something up. And you just bury them.
Bury them in the backyard.
And you can relocate them a little bit later or whatever, but...
I mean, you could have other people relocate them for you.
You could, but that's risky. That's going to get into the risk. I'm a very hands-on owner. When it comes to the moving of the piles, I'll take care of that, please. But I am all for people, certain machinery. This is where I'm kind of torn, is using like the compactor. Using machinery like that, I feel like that's going to definitely open you up to a chance of somebody seeing some evidence at some point. There's going to be some weird splatter or, whoops, why is there a bone wedged in that crack?
I guess that makes sense. I hadn't even thought about that. So I was thinking if you use a compactor, again, you could kind of even say to people like, hey guys, go clean the compactor. And then you get 5 guys in there and then you just squish them. But you're totally right. You would get blood splatter on that. And at some point, through all of the muck and disgustingness of actual garbage, somebody would notice something.
And the same for just driving over them with like a bulldozer. It's, if you got somebody servicing the piece of machinery, again, they notice something here or a tear of fabric. It's kind of like, hey, how did someone's shirt get caught up on these tracks? What the hell happened here? That's the type of stuff I got to watch out for on a day-to-day basis around here.
So I'm seeing that an average landfill is around 600 acres. Is that around what you're thinking?
I feel like that's a pretty big landfill. It's a little larger than what we're running with here. That's going to take some manpower to do that. This is more of it's very much a small town landfill. We're probably looking around 100 acres max.
I think that makes sense. And landfills, I don't know actually a lot about them. Do they build entirely up, or when you make a landfill, do you dig down in order to bury some of the garbage?
It's dug down, is my understanding. Then they pile on and then dig and just shuffle stuff around, keeping it moving through. I mean, this pile, they'll track, I think, the different piles and estimate how long this one needs to decompose before they move it to the next area. course, I think they try to not shuffle this all tires to the same area. They try to mix it up.
So you would put some bodies over here, some bodies over there.
It'd be spread out, but spread deep. And also, I didn't even get into this. They don't all have to be disposed of on site. I mean, like I said, small border town, Mexico, there's a ton of desert around me.
You run the risk of doing that, again, getting caught. As soon as you are transporting bodies, that opens you up for getting caught. Now, what I think is interesting, again, so we're talking about a relatively small border town near train tracks with all those transients. I think that what's going to impact your numbers the most is being able to get high numbers of transients. So not only do you have to attract them with saying, hey, I'll pay you to do these jobs and it's going to be day labor and you're going to get whatever amount of money, but in addition to that, you have to have them somehow know to go to your city. And the problem with that is that you've killed all the people that go to your city. So you might need to let some people go. You might need to let some of the transients be real workers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then say to their friends in whatever other city, like, hey, this was a really great job.
Kaylee, not only do I let a percentage of them go off with their paycheck, I pay them in front of other people as witness.
I like it. I like it. I think that your biggest issue, I think that landfill is a really interesting solution here because, again, the thing that's so cool about that is it already smells disgusting. Like you said, there's already tons and tons of noise, so you don't have to worry about screams. It could be accidents. So like if one person was discovered, let's say that one body was discovered, you would go, oh my God, it must have been a horrible, horrible accident that happened. One of the other workers must have accidentally buried this guy and tried to cover it up because he was a transient. And maybe you don't even get investigated at that point.
The body was so mangled because he's been in the trash pile getting shuffled around this whole time. We didn't know.
Exactly. That's very cool.
Barely even knew his name. We pay cash around here.
I like it. Okay, so the other thing that I was looking up was around how many transients there are at any given time around the subways in New York City. Now, that is not a perfect example because obviously we are talking about small town and obviously you are talking about getting that train traffic in of people who are specifically looking for jobs and looking for work.
And it being a border town, I'm looking for border jumpers.
Yes. So in February of 2022, the MTA found 300 people living in 89 encampments in the subway stations. And that was living in those areas. So 350 people, let's say that that was an accurate number to how many people were coming through your town in a year. Now, again, I think it sounds like you've created ways to get more than 350 people in a year. I don't think you're getting caught in a year. I don't think you're even getting caught in 2 years. I bet you could keep this up for like 5 years before something really became suspicious.
I think we can go well beyond 10.
Tell me why. 10 is a lot. In 10 years, you don't think that you're going to get one family member who's curious and who somebody said, I'm going to this town, and then they start coming to that town and knocking on all the doors, and then somebody says, oh, hey, yeah, he got a job over at Corndiff's landfill. Maybe go talk to Corndiff.
It's possible. There's always a chance, right? The people I'm looking for, they don't have social skills. They don't have wedding rings. You can tell by just what they're wearing and how they're talking, and you got to interview them to find out about their story, how they got here. Of course, they could make that shit up too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, again, there's always a risk. That's why I like to do an estimate for numbers. I would say that at your bare minimum, you could probably keep this up for a year. And I think that that's a low end estimate. It sounds to me like this is pretty evil and it's pretty well thought out. So I think really a year is not at all generous. That being said, by the end of this, you might convince me into 10 years as being your high end. We'll see. I want to hear about how many people per year you think that you could get with this solution.
Aggressive approach, 50 plus. Low key approach, it's one a month.
Okay, so I do think that you could go for 10 years. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought you were talking rotating door, you're doing 5 people a month minimum.
I'm in it for the long haul.
I see the vision now. I think 10 years is legitimate in that case. See how I'm so easily swayed because I just love murder games so much.
Aren't they fun?
It's so much fun.
And if when you're looking at those numbers, you're talking 500 plus before anyone notices.
Okay. Yes. Yes, I think that you are smart. I think that you're smart, period. End of podcast. I think that in your low numbers, based on your low numbers, what you were saying, it would be 120. So if you were doing one person per month for 10 years, you would get 120. I think that that's absurdly low. I think that you would get way, way higher than that. If you were doing 50 people a year for 10 years, then you would be getting that 500. So I even think that 500 is a low end estimate. I think that you could legitimately get, oh man, no, it's hard because you're right that you don't want to get too many people per month.
Not too many, but I do have some ideas for enhancements for maximum efficiency.
Tell me more.
A work exchange program.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
I want to offer long-haul trucking companies the chance to rent workers from the landfill. If a worker never returns, I blame it on the trucking industry or claim they moved on.
Very interesting.
Also, while I'm digging around the landfill, I don't think it'd be a terrible idea to have a nice little underground bunker.
I'm imagining what your disgusting underground bunker at a landfill would smell like is what I just got distracted by.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
Okay, what are you using the bunker for? I'm sorry.
It can be used for long-term body storage. So say we don't want to make so many trips out in the desert, or we don't want the landfill to be half bodies. We can just start long-term underground, buried entrance, most likely, deep, somewhere that no one's going to stumble upon. But it would have to be that's a risky one, very much just because of the building of the bunker. That's what's got me concerned.
So here's the thing is I think that you can build the bunker with tricking accomplices, quote unquote accomplices, because if you're building it before the landfill is created, all you have to do is hire a contractor that doesn't know anything about landfills when they're doing the building of the landfill.
I couldn't do it and go to sleep at night.
Yeah.
I can do all the rest of this, but I couldn't do that because then I would know that somewhere there's a blueprint.
There's
a blueprint that has a bunker on it. Anyone that did help with building it, I mean, it's most likely going to be a buried and cemented shipping container or something, but anyone that assisted with it would have to end up in it.
Well, here's the thing about that, though. If anybody assisted with it and it still took forever to discover you, you're still getting huge amounts of bodies during that time. So you might want to take the risk of getting caught because you don't care if you get caught. You know, if you get caught after year 5 and your number is 1,000 after year 5 because of the addition to that bunker, then you want to build the bunker.
I guess it's a
risk.
A personal goal of mine to not get caught.
I gathered that a little bit. I like it. It. Okay, so I think this is, again, really interesting. Now, remind me, did you say that you were thinking around 100 acres?
Yeah, I think around 100 acres sounds practical for the size town.
So if you were going to get 500 people over the course of 10 years, that would only be 5 people per acre, which is... I mean, I guess it kind of sounds like a lot, but I think that it's manageable without a bunker.
Totally. But after, I don't know, X amount of years, you might want to... Or here's the thing. What if you somehow came upon a way to get a big bulk of numbers all of a sudden? There's a bus of people. I can just...
Yeah.
Let me tow y'all to... they broke down. Let me tow them to the hole in my landfill. And... what do you do with all those? I mean, you might need a place to put a large cache of bodies at some point.
Okay, I like that idea. I think that the best solution to the murder game with your sort of blueprint here, you plan on doing one person a month. You plan on 12 people a year, measly little numbers, not too many because you want to be in it for the long haul. Then you also do purposefully try once a year to get some sort of bigger number. Now, getting the bigger number causes a risk because you can't interview each one of those people and make sure that they don't have anybody who's going to come looking for them.
True.
But again, if you happen into a situation where you got a group of, 10 people or 15 people, that's not bad.
Let's say there's we're near a border.
Yeah.
Let's say this vehicle that breaks down, it's just a big panel wagon of some sort. I stop to help them. Every one of them's illegal. They're just looking for some help. That's a large amount of people that I got to figure out what to do with. a bunker, a storage facility essentially might come in handy, I think.
Yeah, I think that you're right that could be. So again, perhaps you want to take the risk of I'm going to build the bunker. I'm going to have somebody help me build the bunker, and maybe I can only keep going for 9 years as opposed to 10.
It's possible. I'm a very hands-on Corn though. But
You're building that bunker yourself, aren't you?
I'm probably going to build it myself, to be honest. It's just it's the peace of mind at the end of the day. Just you add people to the scenario, and it's just adds risk.
Could you effectively build, I don't know enough about building or landfills or any of this. Could you effectively build like a chute, like basically like a slide that goes into the bunker?
I mean, you could, but then you've got the entrance to a chute to
Yeah.
explain to somebody.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the whole thing, entrance included, sealed off so that I can just get in there with an
Enclosed.
excavator. I know that, hey, if I scoop out 8 foot to the right of this pillar, that's where the door's at. Scoop that
Yeah.
dirt. You can go on in, make your deposit, leave.
Yep. Do you think that there's ever a possibility of like, I mean, you're in a relatively small town, so like, is there ever going to be, I don't know, somebody flying a drone around, somebody like doing is a helicopter flying low to the ground to get to a hospital, something like that, where somebody's going to have the ability to potentially see what you're up to?
There's potential of that with the drones. It is something I'd thought about as a recreational drone guy myself. I'm not going to be doing this at noon. The type of drone that's going to pick up on thermal signatures, you're talking $8,000. It's a law enforcement team. I'm already caught at that point if they're looking at me
Yeah.
with a thermal drone.
I was thinking, you know what it reminded me a little bit of? I think one of the only things that I ever really associate landfills with, or at least, I mean, this wasn't even a landfill, I don't think. Have you ever seen that show, Making of a Murderer?
I think so. Yeah.
It's like,
Sounds-
yeah, it's like a true crime Netflix documentary. It was like one of the first like bigger ones. There's like a huge, it's like a car impound lot, it's not like a true landfill, but like a car that was important to the case was stored in there. And so like people were like searching the
Yeah.
grounds for it. And that's kind of what I'm imagining could potentially happen to you is if somebody does get suspicious, maybe they start throwing that drone up in the air.
If there's suspicion, I mean, they would have to catch me in the act. There's not going to be anything visible by any measure from the sky or from the ground unless you're digging very deep.
So I have to know, Corndiff, have you worked in landfills before that you had this evil plan? Is this like, are you, you don't have to answer that in any way, shape, or form, but I'm very curious because I am learning a lot.
I have never worked with landfills. I've dropped some stuff off at one time. It's one of those when you go to a landfill and if you just look around for a few minutes, you'll realize, wow, you could disappear out here,
Yeah.
and no one would know. Like they wouldn't find you for a while.
That's very true. All right, let's hone in on your numbers here because I think that we have the entirety of the evil plan. Unless you had any other little caveats that you thought could enhance numbers.
Well, the last maximum efficiency tip, I kind of touched on it earlier, but it's the police. I got to befriend the local cops and officials. I'm a guy, again, I give back to the community. No one wants to ask questions or point fingers at the whole look a gift horse in the mouth thing, I guess.
Yep.
I mean, I'm donating money to government projects. I'm showing up at banquets, all that fun stuff, which there's not a lot of banquets. It's a small town, but I'll show up at the...
Yeah, you're putting on your garbage tux to wear to all the banquets in your tiny town.
Yeah, I show up at the Shriners Hall or whatever and hang out with them for a beer or two. That's the final thing. They don't ask questions. They're kind of on the take. They don't really know what's going on, and I never give them a reason to ask. It's just a be friendly type of thing with them.
This is a very solid and unique plan, and I like it very, very much. And I will be honest with you, I have not shared my solution to the murder game yet, but it is pretty similar in a lot of ways to my solution to the murder game. So I like it. It feels very special in my heart to have heard this one. I like it. I like it
That's
very
awesome.
much. All right, so let's talk numbers.
Okay.
So I think, again, Your absolute low end, this is like worst case scenario. You make a mistake on your first day. I think you're getting 12. I think we can count you in for 12 bodies in a year, and I think we can count you as doing it as 1 year. I think that's near impossible. I am almost going to just throw that number out because I think that's a stupid number for you. That being said, let's talk about high numbers. I think that you're onto something with 10 years. I even think that if you went really slow, you could push to 15 years.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the trade-off. I'd have to slow it down.
I think, yeah, so I guess the question becomes, do you want to go more rapid fire and risk getting caught sooner? Or, basically, how do you get more numbers in this scenario? Are you going quick or are you going slow? So which of those do you think is your better bet?
I think just because I'm the type to have the landfill, and I've got some roots in this town.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to get caught, not trying to get dead. Nobody wants that. And I'm here for the long haul. I'm probably never going to do crazy aggressive numbers, but it's going to last for, I feel like easily 10 plus years.
Yeah. I think we should hit you with the 15 years. I think 15 years seems totally reasonable for this for me. I mean, again, you could get caught on body number 1, but I think that as long as you are smart and playing the game in the way that you've described it, I think you could keep going for 15 years. So how many bodies are you thinking you could get? Again, let's say 12 is your low end number over those 15 years. What do you think is the highest? Just sticking with 50?
That was before the enhancements. I would say if I can implement those plans effectively, then I think I could get over 1,000 in a decade.
1,000 in a decade. I think that is extremely close to where I would have put you at. I would have put you between, let's say, like 750 and 1,200.
Rough guess, loosely based off all the facts here. I feel comfortable with that number.
Those are great numbers.
Well, thank you.
And I think slightly higher than the number that I give to myself for my murder game solution. So you're doing very good. My murder game solution is a one-time event. So you basically did what I have as my solution. I have an entirely different location, an entirely different way of luring people in. All of the details are different, but I do mine one time and one time only. And your idea is to keep going. And I think that that's really interesting. And I do think that that gives you the possibility to get higher numbers. So I absolutely love it. This was a great solution.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. It was the first thing that came to mind.
I absolutely love it. I think this is incredibly, incredibly clever. Thank you so much, Corndiff, for joining me. I just want to remind everybody before we have you tell everyone where they can find you, I want to remind everybody that if you want to be a guest on the Murder Game, you can always reach out to me on murdergamepod on Twitter. And I would love to have you as a guest. I want to hear more and more fun solutions. I think that Corndiff is on to something really big here with this concept of lure people in, have a clever way of getting rid of them, and keep it going for a long time. So I want to hear more solutions like that. Corndiff, thank you again so much for joining me. Please tell everybody where they can find you when you're not on a murderous rampage or in the landfill.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kaylee. You can find me on YouTube at Corndiff or on Twitter at Corndiff. Do a show Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays on YouTube, and come check it out.
Yay, that's wonderful. Well, thank you again, and thank you guys all for listening, and I can't wait for there to be more fake crime. Yay. The Murder Game.